And we are live. If it's your first time joining us, you're going to be watching a relatively somber Rip Roaring Reds this evening with myself, Grev, and my co-host, Jace. We're going to be instantly reacting to Arsenal being dumped out of the Champions League by Bayern Munich. Doesn't that sound like a familiar tale, Jace?
I mean, it wasn't as bad as previous times, but yeah, I mean, it's an old wound. It's an old wound opened up. Thanks for that, Griff.
No worries, mate. That's what I'm here for. I don't know if we're going to labour over any positivity. I don't know if I'm going to give you any catharsism, but if it is your first time joining us, please do on YouTube give this channel a subscribe. Please do give this video a like if you can. And please do listen to what is coming up first, which is a Rip Roaring review that I imagine hot off the press. Jace is going to have to ad-lib. This is going to have to think on the fly because I'm not ready for this. Jace isn't ready for this, but we're both probably fucking furious, I imagine. Tell me where you're going to go, Jace. Please give me something.
Toothless. Toothless. That's my one word review. Let me elaborate. We did not take the game to Bayern, I don't think. It was we played a tactical game. It didn't pay off. It did not work. It was actually frustrating. It was frustrating because not only did we not take it to them, then when we conceded, we didn't even switch it on. And it was like in the last few minutes, you saw us bundling in the box. And so it's too late now. Like as soon as Eddie's coming on, it's like you're chucking the kitchen sink in. I'd rather have gone at them in the first half harder, tried to get a goal, but we're playing this tactical football. It's edgy football. It was a toothless performance. We didn't turn up. Our big players on the night didn't perform when we needed them to perform. The second half performance just felt like the Villa performance in a way, again, where silly mistakes and lapses in concentration cause us poor results. And now we're out of Champions League.
Everything that you just said, I agree with. That last part about big players not stepping up, I think that is embodied by that final kick of the game by Bukayo Saka. That corner has to be one of the worst fucking corners I have ever seen in my life. And you're in the last minute of a quarterfinal of the Champions League, the last throw of the dice, and that's what you throw at it. It was incredible. Incredible.
But it was even the messing around before that, right? Like with Rice and Trossard passing the ball with each other, and neither one of them wanting to whip it into the box, even though our defenders have gone up.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I don't know, but I'm with you. So my review will be Slumpsville. We are a team that enjoy, for some reason, going into slumps and not being able to bounce back and react to slumps as quickly as we would like. We had it against West Ham and Fulham and the other game that we lost, which I can't remember off the top of my head right now because I'm too angry. You'll tell me, Jace.
Newcastle?
It was around that same area, but we had a little mini slump there, and then we had to bounce back. And there you go. Crosby agrees with the Slumpsville is the vibe right now because Arsenal cannot respond to slumps. We are unable to jump out of slumps. And this was a game that the team needed to react by. And I am putting this down to something specific, which is second half syndrome. These last two games, those second half performances have been absolutely dire. And not Eric Dyer, worse than Eric Dyer. They have been incredibly dire. And I can't fathom how we've had, it's like we forgot how to play football. It's like how we just forgot all of our tactics, forgot all of our play, and we came out with nothing. And toothless was the right word, Jace. I don't know how else to put it, in my opinion. I think you're correct with that, statement.
That's what I felt. And, there have been players that have been absent in the last few games as well. I felt Havertz again was absent tonight. If they not play a certain way, he's invisible at times. Sometimes this season he's been amazing, and he's got rid of the criticism that he was given at the start of the season when they're trying to figure out how to play. Then they figured out how to play with him. He was amazing. He's been getting assists and goals. And then suddenly, as soon as we tactically get challenged by any particular teams, Emery seems to have our number. Bayern, we didn't turn up. He's null and void. He's null and void. And I think that was proven because I'd have kept him. If we'd have been playing well, you wouldn't have made that change to bring Jesus up into that position. You'd have kept him there. But even Jesus isn't. We had
Do
the
you
discussion
not
on the last
feel
podcast about that. So,
well? Do you not feel there's an element of we needed a goal, and so throwing on attacking players is the only way that we could potentially do that?
No, it doesn't. It's never. When has it ever worked for us? Chucking on all of the kitchen sink.
I just don't know what other options we had. Right, it's probably a bit of a different way we're going to look at this game, I think, Jace, because usually we have topics. We've not looked at topics. What we're going to do here is maybe go, I don't know, do you either want to go first half, second half, or do you want to go back to front? Do you want to go defense, midfield? How do you want to play this, Jace?
Screw it. Let's go first half and second half. Let's talk through it. Let's talk through it that way.
Right. So let me just give you my thoughts and what I thought of that first half performance. I actually thought it was quite a professional performance. We were quite tentative. We approached that game in a very professional manner. We weren't very swashbuckling, as it were. We weren't really trying very much, but we were very tentative. We were very protective, and we did not want to go a goal down. And that much showed in the amount of times that we played that ball between our back four. And one thing I did notice quite early on is that back four was very, very deep. There was not a lot of forward play from both Ben White and Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu grew into the game, and I actually think Tomiyasu was probably our best player, or one of our best players. I thought he put in a pretty good performance, in my opinion. Every time Leroy Sané and Kimmich got the ball down that left-hand side, I did get worried, but I think Tomiyasu dealt with them both quite very well, I think.
He had to switch on pretty quickly. He got caught out once, and then that was it. He was sharp after that because he didn't want to get caught out again. That ball over the top that he misjudged and Sané went through, that could have been a goal down within, the first 10 minutes. He got caught, and I think he realised that, and that changed his performance. It turned him around. He switched on and cottoned on to that. And I think, and he was probably our best defender. But even for me, it's just not what I get it. We're away in Europe, right? That tactical coyness, I get it, but it's not. Do you want to see it? Is that what you wanted to see in the first half? That kind of performance? Because I didn't. I just wanted us to see us go at them and give them something, and like that's some of the best Arsenal is just going at teams.
So let me ask you a question then on that point. Do you think that you would have preferred to go out 3-0, but with Arsenal trying with a bang to play that game, or 1-0 as we did, playing attentively as we did?
Well, I'd like to think that it wouldn't have been 3-0. We might have lost, but it wouldn't have been 3-0. I think we would have scored if we'd have tried. Because we had a few chances, but they weren't. Martinelli's was the best, and he hit straight at the keeper. So
that second half, we had nothing. We didn't.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, so screw it. I'd rather go out trying to win it than not trying to win it at all. It was never going to be. It was never going to be the 10-2 hammering, right? We're not that Arsenal. We're not that squads. Bayern aren't that squad. It was never going to be the embarrassment that we've had previously. And I wouldn't say it's an embarrassment going out. I feel like instead this time we've left stuff on the pitch. We've left our effort. I don't know. The effort's invisible. I don't know. We've left something on that pitch tonight. We have more to give, in my opinion.
Well, I wanted to. Okay, I mean, I kind of semi-agree with you to a point that I would have. It felt like a bit of a whimper, and the first half performance, as it geared towards the end, and it was still 0-0. I think Arteta would have been relatively pleased with that performance to a point. I think he would have been happy that we've not conceded. We've been very protective, and there's still a lot to play for. I would have likely expected us to be a bit more dynamic and a bit more forward thinking in our play. I will go through this. There was no space in that midfield. Every ball that we were playing was either between our back four or long balls over the top. There was nothing to break the lines. I think Jorginho had a couple of flashes where he tried to break it down a little bit. Odegaard again tried to do the same. I don't know what you thought of his performance in this game, Jace, but it was not the Odegaard that I would have expected, and I think he did kind of fade in and out of this match quite a bit, in my opinion.
Was he fit? Was he really fit?
Well, he did take a bit of a knock on the knee was it in the first half or the second half? He got a knock and he went down. Yeah. He certainly did look not quite at it post that knock.
Yeah, I don't think he was fit. I mean, they said he passed the fitness test. I think he probably barely passed that fitness test. It was like, you're not going to not play him in this game, biggest game of the season, and you're going to take your chance. We did. It didn't pay off. He wasn't his fittest. I mean, the only thing really that stood out to me was that turn he did on the halfway line, and then he got pulled back. But nothing.
Got the yellow
There
card,
was nothing.
Yeah,
we did get the yellow, but there was nothing really like stand out from his performance. Like in the first half, what was our attacking threat that stands out? It was continuous trying to get to the byline and cut the ball across, and Bayern just knew what we were going to do. We were too predictable. I think there was a chance that Martinelli tried to cut in and took a shot from long range, and I applauded that because I was like, well, at least my buddy trying. At least he's trying. He's trying something different, because I'm just getting bored of this sideways football to an extent, and then trying to get into the byline. Sometimes that works. In the Premier League, that works. Why? Because people just are not as defensively switched on, and we can cut through holes and find vulnerabilities much easier. But this game, that side, Bayern, they had a game plan. They weren't going to succumb to those tactics tonight, and they were playing just as tactical as we were in regards of probably keeping it 0-0 in the first half. I think they were, and arguably, I think they should have gone in a goal up, to be honest. Maybe it was very, they had many chances in that first half, I think, to get a goal.
I'd agree. I think more. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In the first half, it felt like a much more even affair. They definitely had the better opportunities than we did. I think XG would likely tell a story that they were the better side, but I do feel that there wasn't a lot to split us in the first half. But I suppose the game, as soon as they came out for the second half, I think it told an entirely different story. They seem to be much more. I don't know. Maybe you talked about it there. We are quite predictable, and maybe we've been sussed out to some extent, and that's where teams know what to exploit when they come back out of that second half. They've seen enough of us, and they've had a chance to tactically reset with their manager. And Tuchel kind of, I don't know what necessarily changed too much from a Bayern perspective, but they seem to move the ball a lot faster. They seem to target the right-hand side as well, more than anything. As soon as they came out, and I think they hit the post twice pretty early on, from then on, it was pretty much all Bayern, right?
Ben White got caught on the overlap early on as well, didn't he? They should have potentially scored there. There were a few chances where I was squeamish in the first half. I thought Bayern should have had at least one, and we had nothing going forwards. Like I can't recall anything right now that is like that. That's a standout moment. What did we have going forwards?
No, we didn't really have much of a clear opportunity. But I maybe want to give you and talk through this, because we talked on the last pod about Jesus being off the boil, no pace, not really delivering anything, and we kind of said that we needed to see Havertz back up top for this game. We did, and what did we see?
Invisible, unfortunately, and he relies on good service. The only thing, the most prominent memory of Havertz in this game was he was in the first half. He was actually chasing back. At one point, he was sprinting back, which he's done a few times. But his attacking threat wasn't there. It wasn't there. And I think that he didn't have the service either. Let's be fair. There was no service to him. He is running the channels usually, and getting balls threaded through from the midfield, and that, as you said, that midfield was so tightly packed that there was no opportunity to feed him through the balls that he usually expects. And I would put it mostly down to the fact that Ødegaard was relatively contained in this game. Most of our creative play and our unlocking of that midfield and those through balls comes from Ødegaard, and he was pretty constrained, I would say, during the majority of this game. Like I say, I think you said it earlier, there was a flash of him being able to be on the half turn and create some space. I don't think he did it enough. Maybe you say fitness played a part, but when players like that, and maybe because you're quite a, we talked about Vieira last time and maybe not getting his opportunities. Do you? I mean, I'm going to probably say this word again. Does Arteta trust these players? Because we did not see Reece Nelson, we did not see Vieira again during this game. We didn't see Emil Smith-Rowe again during this game.
do you feel that he just lost all trust in these players?
I don't think he ever had it. I think he's just not in this level. I think there's some of the first team squad he doesn't even necessarily trust at this level. We're still growing. We had nothing tonight, and I hope that he takes a lesson from that. I hope that he takes a lesson from that to understand what kind of caliber of player we really need. I don't think he trusts anybody to kind of come in and and be able to replace someone in the starting lineup for this game. Obviously, they didn't see them on as a sub as well. What is it that you would expect Emil Smith-Rowe to do differently based on his performance of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, and I don't think, but there's many ways to skin a cat, and during this game, I think the tried and tested ways that we knew and had worked previously were not working here, or that Bayern. I mean, I will give them credit where credit's due. They had an incredibly well-oiled, well-drilled midfield, and despite the fact that they had a lot of non-first team players, Bayern, protected that midfield extremely well. And even the glimmers and flashes down the left-hand side that they did have where they opened us up, they looked more dangerous than we did, for sure. I just don't, I feel it's Emil Smith-Rowe would have offered something different. And when one method didn't work, it would likely mean to try something different. And I don't think we did. We continue to go down that same route, and we were quite direct through the middle, and we weren't finding any space there.
What would you have liked to see differently in the starting lineup then, based on what we saw?
I don't think the starting. I think the starting lineup was correct. I would still say, for me, Martinelli was the right choice. Martinelli, if you had looked at their injuries and their starters down that side, it makes sense for Martinelli to play because he will be the most direct. I would still say I don't think he's fit. That's my only explanation. Unless this season's been a lot about Martinelli, that he has just not been at his usual best. But he was. It's like he doesn't want to. It's in similar vein to Saka earlier on this season. It didn't seem like he wanted to go at players. Like he wanted to try and attack and try and drive down that side. He didn't have the beating of anybody, and he felt pretty absent. But I would have picked him. I still feel he's the right choice. I mean, I do want to say that Trossard, who came on to replace him, what did Trossard do apart from do a really weak pass between him and Declan Rice? It's the only thing I can remember, and it wasn't there. So I do feel there's nothing I would have necessarily changed too much. Thomas Partey, he must be done. Can't be anything else to explain it. He's for whatever reason either not fit enough, doesn't have the mental agility or the physique for the Premier League anymore. I'm not too sure what it is, but he's not getting a start. I think I could have preferred him over Jorginho. Or we do what we've done previously, where we let players go at it for a half. We say expel all your energy in the first half because we're going to swap you for the second half. So we have two extremely gone.
That was never going to happen because you could see the game plan that we put in, right? We got to half time and then it was right. Let's see what we can do in the second half.
You say that we got to half time. I mean, it wasn't 0-0. What did we do instead?
Oh, we didn't do anything. We didn't do, but I would see why Arteta wouldn't implement that as a tactic. I think we're lacking. We are too predictable at the moment. I think that's what's caused us to lose 2 games on the bounce now. It's too predictable. And I think that there's just not enough creativity, I want to say. If Odegaard isn't on, where's the creativity coming from in that squad? I feel we're very reliant on one player.
And particularly if he's not fit and not ticking, what do we do instead?
Well, what happened earlier on the season when Odegaard was out injured? We had nothing. So there's the big hole.
So you're saying that we thought about what we need in the transfer window, and it's a lot of forward players. Are you adding another 10 to that list?
Yeah, because if for 10s that we paid 35 million for Fabio Vieira, we should have taken the money for Smith-Rowe if we didn't have the faith in playing him. So yeah, We can't play Odegaard every game. I think we thought originally Havertz might also be able to play a role there, but clearly that's not where he's going to play. I reckon we're going to be, yeah. And the other thing is we're going to have to sell some players, properly sell some players as well. I think I said it last podcast, right? There's a big for sale sign at Arsenal, and it's above Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus. Can we talk about the second half, just a bit more detail and just
yeah, go on. I do want you to give me some hope towards the end, Jay. So you can give me all the pessimism you like for this second half, but I'm going to be gearing up for some positivity towards the end of this pod. So give me that second half first and foremost.
Well,
or am I not going to get any positivity from you?
What in the? I didn't. I'll give you some positivity towards the end.
Give me that second half first, and then we'll see where we get to.
But the second half, what we put the theoretical or through the theoretical kitchen sink at them. That was the worst throw of a kitchen sink I've ever seen. Like when you're taking off all your defenders and you're bringing on all forwards, that is a pitiful effort. I mean, there was no counter attacks. Bayern sat back. We weren't able to break them down. We were just passing it from side to side to side to side. At one point, Rice had the ball, and I was like, "You're going to pass it sideways again." And I'm like, "Do you know what, Rice? Just please shoot. Just smash it from outside the box, because 1 in 4 of those shots that you pull off, it's not like Thomas Partey where everyone's going over the bar. Like 1 in 4. And
Declan Rice did go over the bar, right? There was one that he fucking
against
spoon.
That was a Villa against Villa. Like, yeah, we were in the ground and I went, shoot Deck, and then I went, don't. Oh fuck. But I still would have wished he'd have pulled the trigger tonight. I got frustrated a few times that just there was no one pulling the trigger. Martinelli was the only one who did pull the trigger in the first half. But Bukayo was absent. I mean, they talked about in the first half how, you know, he was supposed to be getting onto their left back, who was in for Alphonso Davies, right? Who was suspended. Where was it? I don't think he caused him that much problems. Saka is still young. He is by far our most prized asset, you could say. But he's turned up for England in big games. He's turned up for Arsenal in some big games. But this was arguably the biggest game of his professional club career, and he didn't turn up. He was absent. I hope that's not a theme for the coming years, but what did he do tonight? And maybe the fact that Odegaard was not playing his best as well meant that whole creative bubble between those two and that side, there was no Ben White overlapping tonight. So that whole right-hand side of creativity was gone. The only time you saw was Saka getting a few crosses in, which Bayern just dealt with easily, like really comfortably. 2 of them went over, a couple of cutbacks where he tried to pass them through. They blocked them and swept them.
I mean, they had
up.
quite a crowded box, crowded midfield. We kind of said that, a lot of their game plan relied upon that. I would say that maybe you're making a right point there, where when absent players go out missing, it's okay for one to go missing, because usually you've got other players in the mix to be able to cover for those individuals that maybe are not having their best game. But when 2 or 3 of your talisman go missing all at once, you're effectively taking a large chunk of your creativity and goal scoring ability out of that squad, and that's effectively what happened. I would also just point out, like we talked about Martinelli in the first half being pretty absent. He lost Kimmich for that header. He was stood ball watching when that ball came across, and I don't want to lay the blame because there's a lot of elements that led up to their goal, but effectively, if you're caught ball watching, there's the amount of concentration that these players need to adhere to and continue throughout the game is incredible, right? It takes a mental ability throughout that 90 minutes that many of us will never have the pleasure or not of having to do. But it's defined by small moments, and that was one of them where had he have the pressure on, because it was a really good header, it was a really good goal. There's no denying that. But if he had have been more pressured, who knows what could have happened, right?
Well, he ran between a whole of 3 Arsenal players. Yes, Martinelli let him go, but the other 2 defenders didn't see him coming in either. So,
I mean, my annoyance with it is for a team that have had such great defensive stability over the course of this season. It has been our crowning glory for the majority of this season. We talked a lot about it on here. It's on the media, on X, on Discord. Everything that you talk about is always going to be about Arsenal's defensive stability and how good we've been defensively. And all of that in recent times feels like it's gone out the window a little bit, albeit, and there's nothing like I said in the last pod, there was a lot of excuses that we could rely upon last season as to why things weren't going for us, and injuries was one of them. We don't have that. The only thing I can look at here is mental fragility. We are not accustomed to this level of football, and it's our first season back in the Champions League. I do want to kind of call out that is. Do I expect us to win it in our first season back? No. I would have liked to get the semi. Who wouldn't love to get a semi? Hey.
Well, it's City still might be going. What's the score? I
haven't checked that one. No, I knew that it got back into it and it was supposed to get extra time. I'll check. You said you were going to give me some hope, Jay. So tell me what hope you've got for me.
That we continue to evolve each year on year and learn from our mistakes. And I think last year we learned from our mistake of going all in at the beginning of the season and trying to spread out our energy across the season. I think we've done a better job of that. I think the squad has evolved. I think we've bought well, but there's still another level to go. So we'll just get better next year. That's the hope. I mean, genuinely, I've seen improvement every year under Arteta. Even the years that we were finishing 8th, you could see what he was trying to do. He just needed to get the right caliber of players and the right and the right squad put together, and he's built that over time. Still a very young side. Like if we finish second in the league, and we got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, marginally losing out to Bayern by 1 goal. Yeah, of course we want to win it, but do we really want to we want to win it, but do we really think that the performance in the grand scheme of things is a bad turnout for the first year back?
There you go. 5 minutes left in the City game, no goals currently, so still gonna go to penalties probably.
Well, actually, I'm quite hoping City go through, to be perfectly honest.
The more games that they play for us now, like all our eggs are in the Premier League basket. The thing is that they've proven they can do it. They continue to do it. They spearhead and juggernaut through every single thing that they do, and they are a level above. And when you're competing with that level above, it is really, really difficult for us to do anything else. I like your positivity, Jace. I like the fact that you talk about improvement and about the things that we've done, and that over the course of the seasons under Arteta, we have gone levels up, and there are still levels to go. I think, like we talked about the Arteta phases through what he has discussed in his press conferences, and that there's still levels for us to go into, which is great. I would say that there are some players, and let me look at Harry Kane. I know that Harry Kane's maybe a poor example because he hasn't won the Bundesliga this year, but there's been a lot of talk and discord over the course of many years that Harry Kane is not going to be down as one of the best players of our generation because he hasn't won anything. There will be some players in this Arsenal mix that maybe will look at a season or two, and if we continue not to win, they could ask those questions. Do you think that's an accurate statement, or do you think it's far too early to tell?
I think it's an accurate statement. The good job is most of that squad's signed onto long-term deals this year, so they're stuck here. So they need to turn up and perform. Basically, they're all in it together. They're a team. They've got to figure it out. As an Arsenal fan right now, we love Mikel Arteta. In theory, we're very vocal and behind him, and I am. But do you feel there's something that he needs to improve?
Many things. I think we talked about it on the previous pod. His game management needs work. I think his personnel management, I think, It's not something we've necessarily seen a great deal of recently, but his personnel management in the past, when you've got the cold shoulder, and we're still seeing it now, you've got the cold shoulder, you have very limited hope in getting back in. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, of course, but you look at Fabio Vieira, you look at Emil Smith-Rowe, you look at Thomas Partey. I just can't see a reason as to why these players have been ostracized as they are when I feel they could potentially add value into the squad. So that's one element I do feel there is some improvement. But he's a young coach. This is his first real job. And it'd be really interesting to see when he does end up leaving Arsenal, where he goes to, whether or not it's something that maybe he comes back to Arsenal in the future. Going somewhere else and learning a different craft. We've a lot of people talk about this in the workplace. You go away and get some experience. I think actually we had this conversation in the car when we were traveling up to the Villa game. You go away and you go to different positions at different companies and learn a different craft and a different trade, and you get the experiences that those places offer you that you can then bring back to your job. Arteta probably does need some of that. But he learned under the best tutelage, right? He learned under Pep Guardiola, likely one of the best coaches of all time. But still a long way for us to go. What do you think he needs to change, Chase?
I think he needs to show more creativity and attacking options. I think he needs to show a little bit more faith in his squad. We built a squad for him, and he's not using the squad at times. Thomas Partey, Fabio Vieira, Emil. We criticize Emil because when he's come on, he's not taken his chance, but he's not really had that many chances.
But we've also seen with Emil particularly, he needs a run of games to get form.
Yeah.
You're not going to see form in 20-minute flashes. It's just not going to happen.
No, he's not. He's not gonna. It's not gonna happen. I'd like to see
ends, by the way.
Oh, that's all right. Well, come on, Man City. I'm happy for you to go. And if you win another Champions League, it means nothing to me. It's.
I mean, that is a really good point, though, Jace. There is this feeling amongst football fans. I think that when Man City do what they do, the care about them doing it is completely absent. Like, literally no one really cares. If they do the 4P, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it even fall? It's that kind of mentality.
There's an asterisk on every trophy. As you said, 115 charges, financially doped up, all these things that you said. Yeah. Doesn't mean anything. They can win it. Fine. If it makes them drop a point in the Premier League, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference to us. The interesting thing, though, was I can't remember where it was. I saw something the other day, which was basically, if we don't call Man City to account for what they've been through, then it's lost, because their revenue this year, they're now in the plus with revenue, if that makes sense. So previously, when they've been spending money and not had the fan base there, because they've been growing their stature in the football community with winning trophies. Let's be honest, it was Man United, Liverpool were the big revenue hitters in the UK, with Arsenal behind 10 years ago. And then Man City have come along and built up that profile and that revenue and new younger fans. You're now seeing Man City fans, young kids with Man City shirts in the south of England. That wasn't happening when I was growing up, when you were growing up. So they've built this profile up, and as a result, they're now bringing in the revenues that a team at that level of the league should be bringing in, which they weren't before. But how did they get to that point? They financially doped themselves to success, to the point where they now could be sustainable and they don't need to financially dope no more. It was a really interesting observation. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I should really give the credit to whoever said it, but I can't remember the source. But it was just a really interesting analogy. So I think we've missed our chance, and the challenges of Pep Guardiola never leaves, and then they can chuck £150 million on one or two players every single summer because they're financially in a position where they're bringing the revenues in to do it. They're never going to fall from that place. They're always going to be. We will turn into a Bundesliga, or maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, I think
maybe because the Bundesliga maybe has now got two teams that can compete. But we will be a farmers league with everyone else competing underneath.
I asked you for positivity, Jason. Now you've made me feel worse.
I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I don't know. Let's look ahead, right? You know, we're going to feel deflated. We're going to feel down. Arsenal are out of the Champions League, and you know it's the first task of trying for a long time, and it's a young squad. So we look ahead. We have got an away game at Wolves at the weekend. It's the time to bounce back because the league is, by all means, still alive, at least for now. Do you think we can bounce back from this result and get a result at Wolves?
I'm not so confident, mate. We're in a slump. It's a slump. Look, Wolves away
usually just come in 3, right? So Slumpsville is 3 games. So maybe you're right.
Mm-hmm. I think the team are going to be down from this. I think they're going to be down, and I'm not sure that. Slumpsville. Thanks, Mr. Crosby. I don't think that this is. I don't think this is going to turn around quickly. It will be a test.
It's not going to be a 3-1 prediction like it always is.
I reckon it's going to be like a 0-0 or a 1-1. I think we're struggling for goals at the moment. You?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, you know, I'm always hope always kills you kind of individual, and I would like to see the optimism in Arsenal's play, and I do believe now there is an opportunity for us to, like I say, put all the eggs in the Premier League basket. If Man City make it through and they've got more games to play, they have Liverpool have some difficult fixtures sandwiched between their trips with Atalanta. They've got 3 away games on the bounce, I think. Man City have got some difficult away games coming up after their exploits with Fulham, with West Ham, with Spurs. You know, like I said in the last pod, they've not scored at the Spurs Stadium before. We've got some tough games coming up too, no doubt about it. But it's going to take... We are now in a position, and we were in this position already, so it kind of nothing really changes for us. We have to go and win all 6 of those games. We have now, I think you said it right, 6 cup finals.
Yep,
and they're true cup finals now. That is it. That is all we've got to play for. And what I do not want to see, and I'll be pretty damned and clear right now, that was a whimper tonight. No beating about it, right? And we can't see that at the weekend. We cannot go out of this title race on a whimper. We really do need to go and fight. 6 games left at the end of the season. And I would say that it did feel that this game particularly, we were running on fumes. You know, it's just a little bit later than last time. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's the same. I'm trying to remember.
It's the same time, I think now. I want to see one thing different. I want Gabriel Jesus to prove me wrong.
Well, let's hope he listens to the pod, Jace, because he'll be like, right, I don't want Jace to tell me I've got no pace and I can't play up front. You watch this. I'm going to bang a hat-trick against Wolves away at Molineux at the weekend.
And I'll go, it's only Wolves. Do it against United.
All right. Well, save it. Yeah, save it for United and Spurs. How about that?
Yeah. Fresh Spurs and I'll be happy. It's not going to happen though, is it?
No. Right.
Actually, they got fresh by Newcastle, so maybe.
True. I mean, I was talking to a colleague at work about this, and I was like, it's really frustrating that we lose to Villa because the week before, Villa got thumped by Spurs, and then Spurs got thumped by Newcastle. It's like the old merry-go-round. It's like the Premier League is very unpredictable, and anything can happen, and that's why we all love it. But that's not to say that we like the unpredictability when Arsenal get beat by Villa. We like something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else then, Jason, before we wrap this up? Because I think we've had enough negative, enough for one evening.
No, nothing else for me. I think it's as an instant reaction pod, it was quite a somber one, right? It was quite there was nothing to write home about. There was nothing even to really to criticize deeply. It was just a very toothless performance. We didn't turn up. We just lost our chance. Hopefully, there's experience gained, and we can go one better next year.
There you go.
But yeah,
positive. I like it. There you go.
First year back in the Champions League, quarterfinals. We'll be back again.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've got all to play for in the Premier League. We'll be back again on Saturday against Wolves. We've got Chelsea next week. All that to look forward to. So if you have joined us on this live stream, and it has been a relatively somber affair, we promise you they're not always as pessimistic and cathartic as this one. But if you do plan on joining us again, please do give this channel a subscribe. Please do give this video a like. And please do in future, if you want to send us a question or comment or anything like that, please do. If they're listening on their podcast provider of choice, Chase, what do we want them to do there?
Yeah, if you're listening on Apple Pods or Spotify, subscribe to the feed or follow us. That means that the latest episode will be in your downloads. And give us a review, 5 stars. Greville will come and knock on your door if not. And leave any. We like to read your reviews, so any nice comments appreciated.
Nice one. All right, we'll see you all at the weekend again, and hopefully with a better result. Come on, you Rip Roaring Reds.
Cheers, guys.
Come on, you